We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. That's Boss Bears Supplements at bossbears.co. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Check out all of Boss Bears products at bossbears.co. They have apple cider vinegar gummies. They have ashwagandha. They have all kinds of supplements in delicious gummy form. They also have them in pill form if you don't want the gummies. I prefer the gummies. They are delicious, and I've tried the apple cider vinegar. They are very good. Use code Nicky at checkout to save 10%. That's bossbears.co, code Nicky. We are brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. That's KLOUTPWR.com. So here I have the protein, the Cravings protein from Clout. This one is the salted caramel. This is some of the best protein that I've ever had in my life. It's actually delicious. I like the salted caramel and the cinnamon swirl are my two favorites. Also, their pre-workouts are amazing. So they have the Karma Nootropic pre-workout. It's a nootropic and focused pre-workout. It's a lower stimulant formula, zero itch formula. It has 4 trademark ingredients, and has fully dosed ingredients. So far, the Arctic Cherry is probably my favorite of the Karma pre-workout. Also, try the Nero Aminos from them. And also the High Stimulant Mamba is some of my favorite too. And I really like the Arctic Cherry of that one. So go to cloutpower.com and use code Nicky to save 15%. KLOUTPWR.com. Code Nicky to save 15%. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. And we are here with Danielle Rainwater from Body Shop Gym.
Hey, hey.
And Danielle is a lifestyle coach, and also a bikini competitor.
I am.
And so last time we had you on, we talked about the business of Body Shop, which is an amazing gym in Bothell. But this time we have you on because I wanted to talk to you about how you got into this industry. Yeah. And it's probably a super interesting story.
I think there's a lot in my background that a lot of people who are in my life now daily, because my circle's changed so much over the years, they don't realize what I was involved in like when I was younger.
Right. So getting into the fitness industry lifestyle, who was Danielle back then?
So when I was younger, I lived a very, very fortunate lifestyle. My parents got me involved in a lot of things. So growing up, I showed horses nationally. Mm-hmm. So from when I was my first horse show I was 3 years old. I still remember the outfit that I had on. And I showed until I was a senior in high school.
Very cool.
And so I traveled around the world.
That is a lifestyle. So my aunt and uncle do that, and the couple of their daughters did it. And like my aunt, especially once the kids got a little more grown, her and the one daughter got like way into it, and they would travel nonstop, and like it's a cool lifestyle.
Yeah, so I showed, if anyone listening is familiar with like the different, because it's like bodybuilding, there's different federations, there's different breeds, so it's like there's different divisions, and so I actually showed Arabians, which are kind of like the ones you see in like Middle Eastern videos where they've got like the really like chiseled faces, the pointy ears, like the white ones that you see a lot. And actually I showed with, if everybody knows who Patrick Swayze is.
Oh, who doesn't know Swayze, dog?
Right?
Are you serious?
Yeah, so he
owned
a lot of Arabs, and one of our biggest shows was in Scottsdale, Arizona, so I would be down there every year. Yeah. And I remember I was like warming up for one of my shows, and he just like right on by.
You got to see Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, and like the Nordstrom family, they're really involved in it. And
so like, you got to understand, like me and my friends growing up were like huge. You know that movie like Roadhouse.
Oh yeah.
And like we used to like sing that karaoke. She's like the wind. Like my buddy James Jeffries he would always like key up the karaoke for "She's Like the Wind," which is kind of a cheesy song, but like because it's Patrick Swayze, it's funny.
Were you a Dirty Dancing fan?
I mean,
Did you try to do the
like
lift?
my cousins watch that, my female cousins.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, there's like, they watched it nonstop. So I'm not gonna lie, I did actually like that movie.
Nobody
puts her in a
baby
corner.
in a corner.
But Swayze was like the man.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's that classic Saturday Night Live thing with Chris Farley, but he was just a cool guy, you know.
Yeah.
And like Dirty Dancing, that was like a crazy story. Like I actually watched the Netflix. Like it was a long shot when they made that movie, and it was like crazy that it blew up. So it's like Netflix has
this documentary on it or something?
There's a Netflix documentary on certain movies that we know that are super popular, but we have no idea the stories behind them, and kind of like how some of them were like really just people taking these chances. Oh. And that was one where it was like some script that someone just found and they were taking a chance and they did it, and it like, you know, I guess like Swayze and her didn't like each other that much, and they were kind of like, not that they didn't like each other, but like it took them a while to get their chemistry, or she thought he was mean or something. I can't remember. But then it ended up working out where they had like the greatest chemistry, and like it was kind of a cool story.
That is cool. I'll have to watch it. It's kind of like
I think it's called Movies That Made Us.
It's kind of a good like lesson too. Like it doesn't always have to be this groundbreaking idea, but just like take action and you never know what's gonna happen.
That is true, the value of action. You probably know that with that. So like okay, so Patrick Swayze and horses.
Back to the story. So yeah, I showed horses growing up. I wouldn't say I was homeschooled. I wasn't like homeschooled by like definition, but my teachers were really awesome, and they would give me like my week assignment, and I'd be able to take it on the road with me and fit it, because I was traveling. And with horses, I mean, it's very similar to bodybuilding too. I was up at the barns like 4 to 5 days a week riding. I had multiple horses that I showed, because you wanted one for every division, because one horse, I mean, it's like bodybuilding. One horse isn't going to be the best at every division based on what you're doing.
So you had to diversify.
Yeah, so I showed like 2 to 3 at a time usually at each show. And so you got to go up there, you got to practice, because like the horse has to be trained right. You have to be trained right as a rider. And so I'd be up there 5 to 6 hours a day. I mean, I loved it. I was just in freaking heaven.
So kind of obsessed with it, loved it, had a passion for it. But that's kind of what instilled that kind of work ethic
and
stuff
discipline
into you.
For sure. Yeah. Obviously there's not a specific diet, but like you have a specific regimen and schedule that you're following.
Right.
And then I also was in pageants growing up as well.
Yeah.
So when I was 6, I was actually Little Miss Washington.
Right. So but it all kind of works into what you're doing now.
Exactly. Like I love performing. There's always I've always loved competition. I've loved like pushing myself to like new levels. I've always been raised to kind of my parents always held me at a very high standard, whether that be grades, anything that I was performing
so like pressure, but you were able to, it was
good
for
pressure.
you. Yeah,
good pressure. Not pressure where I felt like they were going to like disown me or something if I didn't do well.
It's good. It's called being held accountable.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I also ran track. So I always had like that athletic background too. And so I ran track all through college. I actually fractured my ankle my freshman year, so I didn't really like continue that.
Yeah.
So I kind of lived out the college days, enjoyed it, had my party phase, and I'm glad that I had it, because I have no desire to do that anymore in my life.
What was the party phase like?
Oh, like
Too much drinking.
Like drinking at least 6 days a week.
Oh yeah, we all did that in college.
Yeah, I was in a sorority, so you know, like I didn't go to a huge, massive school. I went to University of Puget Sound in Tacoma. Great school. It's very highly thought of, but there was a small Greek life there.
Do you kind of look back in those days with sort of a fondness, though?
Oh yeah,
but,
like I had the best time of my life, but I'm also like, how did my liver survive?
Right.
Also, how did I pass?
Yeah, I know. I look back at college too, and I'm like, I don't know. It was really fun though.
Oh,
I don't think I could like hang.
Oh no, I couldn't do it again. Like my bedtime is 9:30 these
One
days.
thing is though, that was kind of where I like got the really good with, or that's kind of where I got like lifting instilled in me, because like I was actually like kind of around like some dudes that were in college that were like a couple grades ahead of me in school, back in high school, but then we were all in the same area for college, and they kind of just like took me under their wing, like, we're teaching you how to lift and all this stuff. And so, like, it was kind of cool. Like, so even though we were partying and shit a lot, like, that is kind of where I got into that, like, every week, like, you go to the gym mentality.
And very similar to me, that's kind of how I got into, like, my regular gym like regimen, because not for the same idea as I was doing today. It was more to like, so I didn't get fat.
You had
because
to
I was
counteract.
doing
Yeah.
what I was doing during the week and the weekends.
Right.
And I definitely was not lifting to like the same capacity that I was lifting right now. But I did get into like a regular regimen of going to the gym. I was more of like a cardio bunny.
Yeah.
And just lighter lifting, more circuits.
So way different than now, probably.
Way different than now. But it's kind of where I started to develop my love for it. I mean, I loved like the competition, and I always had a love for health and fitness, but it's kind of where I started like really developing a passion for it. And then when I graduated college, it was like, what do I do with my life now?
Because, well, so like, after showing horses, pageants, working out in like
track and field, like
all of a sudden it's like I need something in my life.
I'm like, all I have now is a job. And this is kind of depressing because I did get my degree in marketing as well, in business marketing. And so right after college, which is good now. Yeah. I actually worked for, I'm sure everybody's familiar with them, Almond Roca. Mm-hmm. So Brown and Haley, they're actually founded in Tacoma, Washington. That's where their factory is. What do they do? So they make Almond Roca, the candy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They do a lot more that a lot of people don't realize. They partner with a lot of companies and make their like Starbucks and stuff like that. They make different treats for different companies. Right. So I actually I did my internship there through college. Okay. And then I ended up getting a full-time job after college and worked there for about 2 years. It was during their 100-year anniversary.
So it's probably a good experience.
It was a really good experience. It was a very like old school company, but it was a really great experience. I managed their social media. Yeah. And I helped like with the major package redesigns. I helped with brand launching. Yeah. I learned some valuable lessons, but I also grew up in Puyallup, Tacoma area, went to school in Parkland. Then I went to college in Tacoma, and I kind of stayed in this like little siloed area. And I kind of, I was young, I was single. Seattle was like the cool big city. And so I wanted to get up. It was back before it like turned crappy like it is now. But I wanted to get up to the city. So I ended up getting a job at a digital advertising agency up in Seattle, and they actually did all the digital advertising for car dealerships. Okay. So I did reputation management and social media for car dealerships for a while, and reputation management was basically like their Yelp and Google sites, like helping with reviews, getting reviews, responding to reviews. And then when you like go get your car like serviced, or you buy a new car and you get an email like, how was your service, or please rate us. That we managed the program that like auto sent those out, and then I helped them like respond and take care of any issues that came through those surveys. Right. And then also help them with like, it was back when Instagram was kind of getting popular. Facebook was really popular.
So what year was that? Like?
So I graduated college in 2011. So I probably started working there at like 2013, 2014.
Right. Because we almost forget that like, even Instagram like we know it now, like even 5 years ago, it was just kind of getting going.
Well, and when I created my Facebook, you had to have a college email address to create it, because that's what it was created for. It was created for college and like connecting you with people that were going to be
before like
going.
Everyone's grandma's on it now.
Exactly. And now it's made like such a shift, and like I don't even use Facebook that much anymore.
Well, that's how they say if
definitely
you want,
for like the older generation.
Right, they're like if you want kids to like stop using TikTok, just get everybody's mom and grandma on there, they'll stop. Like because they're talking about banning TikTok right now.
Stopped using Facebook.
Because Facebook is like such known as like old lady place now.
Or it's just like where people creep on each other, like
it's weird. Yeah.
So during all of this too, I was still working out and lifting, but not to the capacity that I was in. And it was when I started living in Lake Stevens. So I had met an ex-boyfriend that worked at that agency as well. Mm-hmm. And I moved up to Lake Stevens to be with him. And I started working out at, if anyone is local, they probably know this gym. It's called Team Fitness. It's the only one that's up there. Yeah. And it's a little bit more of like a heavy duty. There's more competitors that work out there. Because previously I was working out at like 24-Hour Fitness in LA. Those box gyms. Things like that. And I was super, like, I was getting more into lifting. I had started doing like more research as far as like how to build muscle, how to fuel my body nutrition-wise. I had learned more about, like, macros.
You're good at that.
Yeah.
I feel like you're, like, really on point always.
Oh, with my food, for sure. I think that also comes from, like, the way I was raised. Like,
I think that's discipline and regimen. Yeah.
And So I got approached by, if anybody knows him now, he is actually a trainer at Body Shop. So his name is Dom Smenza.
Dude, he's an intelligent dude.
Oh my God. Like, I am so fortunate that he was like the first person that approached me about it because I have learned so much from him over the years.
There's a Lost podcast when him and Kyle came on.
I heard.
And it was one of the best episodes I think we've ever done.
You got to get him back on here.
Because they were so good, and they talked about, and Kyle was, Kyle's killing it with his, he's pushing so much food, and like they got into it. They got into it big time talking about it. And then that was back when I was having technical difficulties.
Yeah. Well, it was back when you first started.
I just started. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I'm fortunate enough that I just sit with those guys all day,
you get to
every
get
day.
that knowledge every day. Yeah.
It's just general, like, conversation for me. But anyway, so this was back in, like, 2015, 2016, and he just kind of asked me, like, hey, have you ever thought of competing? Like, you have a great build. Like, have you ever thought? And I'm like, what? Like, what's competing? Yeah. And then he, like, mentioned bodybuilding, and I was like, no, like
that's what dudes do.
All I think about is like just big muscle.
Yeah, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, for sure. And then I kind of started researching it a bit more, and I found bikini, and it was also a very different look back then than it is now. Because
which ways was it different?
So when bikini first, like, and it's still technically supposed to be like this, but bikini was basically developed for you to basically come off the beach, maybe work out for like a month or two to like prepare, like you're thinking like prepare for a vacation. You could buy a bikini off the rack.
Yeah.
And you'd walk on stage.
That's how it used to be.
And you could wear any heel you wanted. It didn't have to be a clear heel, anything like that. It's just developed a lot.
Different.
If you look at the first woman that won the Olympia in bikini, she's actually wearing a polka dot bikini, like that you would like buy at Target.
She bought it, yeah.
And it just shows how much the sport has evolved. I mean, bikini is still the most
attainable. Because now the bikinis are so elegant. Like, they're insane.
Yeah, and like everything goes into it. It's like the stage presence, your hair, your makeup,
they're so sequenced in the colors and like because I'm like from that pro wrestling world where like it was big time like on your costume and gear. So like those bikinis remind me of a lot of like really good.
Yeah. And they're like $600 to $1,000.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, with showing horses too, we had, I don't want to say they were costumes, but you definitely were like very dressed to the nines. Like,
yeah, but I've seen like some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff's expensive too.
Oh yeah. My mom's always like, you
like
pick the most expensive
like,
hobbies. The ones that don't pay you, but you have to pay for.
That is true.
So yeah, I found bikini and I was like, this kind of looks like something I would want to do because it kind of looks like a muscle pageant, which is like kind of combines everything that I've been into.
And then that competitive spirit that you have in you already, right?
So I was like, hey, let's give this a try. And so actually Dom was my very first coach.
Yeah.
And
you are lucky you found him.
Yeah. So he did. I actually was kind of just like, I want to see if I like this lifestyle first.
Yeah.
Because it is very much a lifestyle. You can't just like, I mean, people do, but just jumping into a prep, like, it's not a smart thing to do. You need to develop the habits and the lifestyle first. And so he actually dieted me for a vacation. And he, like, got me in the best shape of my life. Like,
just to, like, kind of do a mock almost prep, right? Like,
and he is very meal plan based, which...
I know. He's so intelligent with that stuff.
And it was back when, like, flexible dieting and, like, if it fits your macros was, like, coming out.
Okay, so was that something he believed in or just...
So I wouldn't say he didn't believe in it, but, like, that wasn't an approach that he implemented.
Yeah.
And so me being so new, I was like, I don't want to have to eat this meal plan. I want to be able to eat whatever I want. I want to eat cereal, like, all this stuff. So I actually found...
Which is so different than now because you're so disciplined.
Yeah. My approach has changed a lot. And so I found a coach that implemented flexible dieting, and he is a huge name now. I've gotten very lucky with my coaching.
Coaches.
He's huge now. He was pretty brand new when I got with him. So his name's Paul Ravella. The team is Team Pro Physique, and he probably has like 25 coaches under him now. Whoa. Which, do you remember Rachel Sedgwick? My really good friend. She moved to Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've seen her.
She's actually a coach for them now. And back when I got with him, I think he maybe had like 50 clients. Okay. I mean, now they have thousands. Yeah. Thousands of
clients. Killing it.
And so he implemented flexible dieting. And I actually found him because one of the bikini pros that I was following, she actually wasn't a pro at the time, but one of the first like bikini athletes I started following, her name was Emily Hayden. And that was her coach. And I was like, well, if he's a good enough coach for her. Right. I basically did not do what I suggest doing now. I did not research. But the coaching industry wasn't as saturated.
And maybe you just kind of got lucky.
I got very lucky.
Yeah.
The coaching industry wasn't as saturated. So I was with Paul for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
So I was with him for a really long time. We did 7 shows together. And then I recently, last year in April, so about a year now, I've been working with Jen Dory.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Dude,
and
she's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah. And my physique has completely changed with her. But like I said, over the years, like my approach to nutrition has changed because actually, after my first season with Paul, so 2018, I did USAs, we did nationals. And then after that season, I ended up taking 3 years off because a lot of people, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know this, but a lot of people that know me now don't know this. I went through a lot of health issues and they were mainly around my gut and digestion. And, I think I'm not blaming it on prep and I'm not blaming it on macros, but I am saying that it didn't help my situation at all.
Really?
Because I was fueling my body with processed bullshit.
Oh, so that was kind of what was going on. Like you said, you believed in the if it fits your macro. So that was like you can just eat whatever you want as long as you hit your macro target.
So I'm a firm believer. I think flexible dieting is a great option for people. I think it's very sustainable.
Right.
I think it educates you because you're measuring your food. It keeps variability in your diet, which we need. But there's a difference between flexible dieting, which is counting your macros, and if it fits your macros. Because a lot of people that they're following, and I think if it fits your macros has really died down.
Yeah, definitely. It's
but like it was like, how many Pop-Tarts can I eat in a day? How many donuts can I fit?
You try to see how much like crap you can fit.
How shitty you can eat.
Yeah.
So I basically was doing a prep like eating Halo Top, eating fat-free whipped cream, like sugar-free Jell-O, Walden Farms on everything.
It's a little. I agree with you because I feel like you can do that, but there's something that happens when you eat that processed stuff where like. Even it'll start messing with your brain.
Oh, yeah. The gut and brain are so connected.
So they always talk about that brain-gut axis, you know?
Yep.
And Sonia was on here talking about that.
Sonia's my girl.
And she's so intelligent with that kind of stuff. But it's so true because, like, even me, like, I love having a cheat day or I love doing this. But, like, what happens if I do intake that kind of stuff, if I stick right on my plan and it's all very clean, I start feeling different.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I start feeling, like, clean. You know, and it's not like a mental thing. It's like my system starts feeling like good, like it's operating properly. And it's fun to do those. Like, trust me, like after the show, if I can get through this Emerald Cup the next day, I'm going to go out.
Not if, when.
When I get this show. Yeah, I mean, I'm on track. So I don't know why I say it that way. I'm trying to be humble or whatever. But, I mean, I'm on track right now. And I'm definitely going to go out with my friends the next day, and we're going to go out everywhere to eat.
Oh, and there's no issue with that at
all.
But,
like, on a regular basis, trying to fit, like, these certain things in, why do I want to do that when it literally causes my brain to not function properly, and then some of that depression starts creeping in, and you're like, why am I feeling like, oh, I put junk in my body, and now, like, my brain doesn't feel as good. You know, it gets fuzzy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you start, you know, thinking in, like, ways that aren't good, and it's like, oh, but when I've been like really clean and keeping everything like really unprocessed and that goes away. So
you also notice your
like,
cravings are a lot different too.
Oh, they go away too.
Yeah. Like a lot of people are always like, how are you so on point? And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't feel deprived in any way from what I eat. I love what I eat every day.
Right.
And I don't have craving. Like I have no reason, like I have no reason to go off plan because I feel so fueled.
Yeah.
And like during my off seasons, I have free meals. I go out and I eat. But like when I go out and eat,
that's still important.
Well, and I also like, I don't go out and I eat things that I know aren't going to feel good in my body. I eat things that I know are like, I don't digest dairy well. I know that. So when I go out to eat, I stay away from it because I also don't want to like go out to eat and then feel like trash for 4 days. Like that's no fun either.
But even when you do have like a flexible meal or whatever like that, like on your, you know, off season, like it's not like you're doing it every day.
No.
So your body has time to take it in. Maybe it affects you a little bit negatively, but you have time to get over it. And then same with like, it's if you're going to drink alcohol, like if you do it once and then you give yourself time, but if you're doing it every day, it's going to start affecting you negatively.
Well, and that's also why, like with my clients, I call it a free meal versus a cheat meal because I feel like that connotation of the word cheat makes them think like, oh, it's a bad food versus good food. And that's not necessarily true. Obviously, there's foods that are more nutritious for you.
Because that gets into eating disorders and like not wanting to label any food as bad or good.
Totally. And I always remind them like, one quote unquote salad, not that salads make you skinny, but like one healthy meal didn't make you lose weight. So one meal out isn't going to make you, it may make the scale jump up a little bit, but it's not necessarily because you gained fat.
It depends where you are in your season.
Exactly.
Like you said, what your goals are at the time. If you're like during like a building phase and you want to go out to eat once a weekend, like with your friends, like as long as you don't go crazy.
Yeah. My one rule as a coach is just like, don't be an asshole. That's what I tell them. Don't be a dickhead. Yeah. And, it also is like what you're doing consistently over time is what's going to make the biggest difference. So if you're consistently eating your meal plan, not perfectly, I'm not saying 100%.
Nobody's ever 100%.
If you're
perfect.
consistently eating on your meal plan over consistently eating out, what you're doing consistently is what's going to make the biggest difference.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
So we kind of got off topic, but getting into bodybuilding.
Interesting.
Yeah. Getting into bodybuilding is what really, like, seeing my body change before my eyes and then going through those gut issues. I remember going through it. It took me about a good 3 to 4 years to like really get over it. But I had done some damage, not even just with bodybuilding, but like back before I got into it, like the way society leads us, and they still do, the way they led women to believe is like you basically have to eat like a freaking rabbit in order to get the body you want to get. So I was a cardio bunny. I was eating basically nothing. Like I thought a smoothie for dinner was like...
That is a theme that I've seen on here with almost every female competitor that I've had on the podcast. Is that idea of like they're so shocked when they get to see how much they actually get to eat to be healthy. And even like there was a customer of mine in the bar who's trying to get healthy, and she's like, I got this coach and I don't know, they want me to eat this much. And so I'm like, well, here, give me your height, weight, and your age, and I'll do some calculations. And I'm like, no, they're dead. I'm like, this is totally what I would suggest. Blows
people's minds.
And she's like, really? And then she started doing it, and now she's like killing it.
And
I'm
drop
like,
weight.
Yeah,
usually.
I'm like, see, this is like yeah, definitely, especially for women. I feel like it's like starve yourself and do cardio, which causes a lot of skinny fat.
Oh yeah, and it also
and
like
hormone issues.
Well, and hormone issues. What I was gonna say is it causes a lot of, and a big reason I was developing these issues is because I was putting so much stress on my body. Not necessarily like mentally, because I'm such a perfectionist, and I still like work through that now.
You can tell you have that in you.
I'm very type A, and but stress isn't just like mental. It's also different things we're putting our body through. So dieting is a stress. Training is a stress. Cardio is a stress.
Yep.
And so I have this newfound like saying that I truly like believe, because in order to heal from those gut issues, I had to pull back. I had to do less.
Yeah.
And so I always say like train hard, but recover harder. You need that recovery.
Not many of us are good at that.
No. And we live in this society that leads us to believe that more, go hard or go home, which like, yes, there's a time and a place for that. But if you're not recovering, you're not giving your 100%.
Yeah, there was a day recently where I was like, I kind of just felt really run down. And instead of like I went and I made all my meals that day, and it was kind of a day off. I think I had a podcast in the morning or something. But I was like, instead of like going and like to the gym today and do cardio and stuff, and I don't know if this is good, but I actually took the day off and kind of just like relaxed. And then the week after, I just felt amazing. Oh, yeah. And I started like killing it at everything again.
So when my clients, like I have, I do weekly check-ins, which I'm sure you do with Jordan as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I have a check-in form that I have them fill out, because I think there's so much more that goes into coaching than just diet and exercise. Like your mentality, the way your body's functioning, your recovery, like that all plays in, and you're not going to get the most out of your diet and exercise if you don't have everything working together.
Right.
So I have them tell me like how their digestion is, how their recovery is. How is your mood? How is your mentality? And if I really feel like they're sounding like really down on themselves, or like they're like, you know what, I am like crushed. Like I implement like diet breaks. Yeah. I implement deloads, which do you want me to define those? Or
maybe for the people listening, I know what a deload is. But
so like a diet break is basically, I mean, I'm not like go out and eat whatever the hell you want. We bring their food up. So whether they be counting macros, I give them more macros, or we be on a meal plan, I bring their calories / macros up and change their meal plan a bit. And I'll usually do a deload and a diet break together.
Yeah.
So just like, it's scary mentality. Like the first time I do this with clients, they're like, they have this like idea that they're going to get huge.
But they kill it when they come back.
Well, and usually they'll end up losing weight. And it's not necessarily fat, but it's like inflammation comes down.
Yep. We're
and a deload is
like over inflammation.
Yep.
And
deload, I mean, you can take it tons of different approaches, and it depends on the client on which is better. You can just bring your volume down by like reducing the number of sets or reps that you're doing and reducing your weight by like 60%. Or sometimes I'm like, just take the week off. Yeah. Just walk. Take the week off. Take daily walks. Just relax.
And then it's probably surprising how the body will respond when you come back to the training afterwards.
Like you feel so much better, and you're able to like go in and go hard.
It just got overstimulated.
Yeah, and that was the thing that like I was doing before. Like I would be in the gym for like 2.5, 3 hours on a leg day, like doing like 14 different movements, like 7 sets of 20 reps.
That's that ambition you have.
Oh yeah, but now like my programming is like I do some activation. I do like 5 to 6 specific movements, like where my intensity is like, my full-on intensity is all those 6 movements, and then maybe I'll do like a burnout or a finisher.
Right. So, but it's like the intensity is still very high.
Yeah, because if you're
you're not overdoing things.
Yeah, and if you're in there for 3 hours, at some point you're just going through the motions. You're not actually doing any benefit to your body.
No.
So that's a big thing I implement with my clients as well. It
seems like that took you a lot of years, and it's it's figuring out how to work smarter instead of harder.
And personal experience. Like, you can read all the books, and, like, there's so much to learn out there, but I think you learn so much from experience.
From doing.
And that's what makes you I think that's what is a big thing that makes me such a good and caring coach, because I've been there. I know it sucks to feel like shit.
Right. You've walked the path that they're walking, so you have some experience that you can, like, share with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd fully like define myself as an empath, but like I take on a lot. Like when my clients text me, like I can feel their words, and I'm like, I know where you're at. Just remember, it's going to be temporary. Like I got you. And sometimes just like hearing that from someone, that you're not alone.
It probably makes you a good coach that you are able to emotionally connect.
I'd like to think that I have like really strong relationships with like all of my clients.
Yeah. Well, and just the fact that you actually care about that part of their training. You know, because it can get very, just like numbers, math, cold.
Yep.
But like you said, there's so much of that other part, like the mental part, like the emotional part that affects our body too. Like
especially
we don't want to think about it. I think it is more for women especially, right?
Like men, have you ever seen the YouTube video where it talks about like men's brain versus women's brain?
No, but...
Okay, it's hilarious. I'll have to send it to you. So it's a comedian. I think he's a pastor, but he's a comedian too.
Okay.
And he's like talking about a man's brain, how it's different boxes.
Yeah.
Like there's a box here, there's a box there, and everything lives in its own box.
Yes.
And the man's favorite box is their nothing box.
Okay.
And they just love to live in the nothing box where nothing else is happening. It's just them just by themselves in silence. And then women's brain is like wires, and everything connects to everything. And when it like touches, there's like this big like electric shock, and like there's just something
that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's something going on all the time in someone's brain. And like it's funny because us as women will ask like our boyfriend or a significant other where they're just like sitting there, and they might be like staring off into the abyss, and we're like, what are you thinking about? And they're like, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
And we're like, you're lying. Like there's no possible way you can thinking about
really,
nothing.
We might have just
but really they're thinking of absolutely freaking nothing. But we just can't believe that.
Just sitting there existing.
Because that's not how our brain works.
It is funny. Yeah, we're very different for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely in the fitness industry too. I know there's a lot of differences, for sure.
And there's a lot of things that I focus on is like stress management is huge, and recovery with my women. And the way that, so cortisol, obviously, you talked about this with Sonia, I'm sure.
Big time.
But being your stress hormone.
Yes.
And when that is high, that is one of the biggest progress stoppers, especially for women, because we get so affected hormonally.
That's the thing. It messes your hormones up so much, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And when your body's not in balance.
And when that happens, you could be doing everything right, like diet-wise and all that, and you're still not going to make any progress.
Exactly. And that's why, and I always say too, like, I think a big part of my success too is I always say like your network is your network. Your network is your net worth. So having people like Sonia in my life, having people like Dom in my life that I can learn from, and I'm not afraid to be like, hey, I've got this client. I don't really know what to do. What would you do? And I
so it's
also,
good to have fellow coaches that you can bounce ideas off of.
And I also partner with an HRT clinic. It's the name is Vivo HRT. So when I have a client that's, because I'm not a doctor, that's not what I specialize in, and I will not tell a client to take specific medications. But what I do is I do say like, hey, we've basically hit what I know as far as like what should be working and what we're doing. You should be dropping weight. And if like they're not getting the results that I know they should be getting, I'll be like, I think it's something internal. And so we'll get lab work done and we'll take it. We'll do a free consult with Chris. He'll give his doctor insight and we'll kind of work as a team to get them back
That's so important too, just to like get checked up, I think too.
Oh yeah. Like... And I learned so much on every consult because everybody's body is so different.
Yeah. That is really, we all have really unique bodies for sure.
Yeah. So coaching has been something that has been a passion of mine for a really long time. But like I said, I worked in the corporate world because I was kind of raised on the fact too that like you go to college, that was very much my parents' generation. You go to college,
you get a real job.
You get your 9 to 5. Like entrepreneurship wasn't as big back then.
No. And for people that aren't entrepreneurs, it's very scary.
It's very scary.
So like even my parents are like that, and I know a lot of people. That's another theme I've actually found because I've had a lot of entrepreneurs on this kind of weird, issues with their parents. But it's kind of like you can kind of see where they're coming from because it's dangerous.
And I would never say it. My parents are the most supportive parents like I could ever ask for. Like if you ever went to any of my shows, if it's local, they even have flown to Vegas for my shows. But if it's local, they're there. And so my first business that I came out with, my name was Rainwater Results. That's what I called it. And they have Rainwater Results shirts. They all match with like my old logo. Like so supportive. They are there every step of the way. But like you said, I think they were more scared for me.
Right. So anytime you're doing something entrepreneurial, it's not like having the security of a real job.
So once I finally quit my job, like I was a little nervous to tell them that like, hey, I'm not working because I had gotten a job at Precor and was doing all their social media and email marketing.
And that was where we talked about that last time.
Yeah, we talked about it on the Body Shop episode. And I was there for 6 years. And when the pandemic hit, afterwards they got bought by Peloton. And they actually, I don't think they're partnered with them anymore, but they were reorganizing, so they got rid of my position.
Yeah.
And it was kind of that point where I was like, because Jeff and I were always wanting me to be able to step away. And it was kind of at that point where we were like, oh, okay, well,
this is it.
This is the perfect, it's either sink or swim.
Yeah.
And
so you got to take that leap of faith. Huh?
Yeah. And so I'm around entrepreneurs every day. Everyone that's in that gym is, because our trainers are all independent contractors.
You think being around that makes it a little more like, you can see like, okay, I've seen people that have done this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like,
yeah, you feed off each other.
I don't take all the credit to be like, yeah, I just jumped in and I did it scared. Like, Jeff was a very big influence in that. Like watching him basically bring that gym from the ground up, like was so inspiring.
Yeah, and he's still doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing my own business now for a little over a year and a half probably, but I would say the past like 6 months is really when I dove into it.
So it's been,
and now I've grown it. I'm making more now than I was making in corporate life.
Yeah. But it took a minute.
It's grinding. Yeah. Like I'm working 6 to 7 days a week.
There is people don't realize the work.
Yeah. People are like, so you basically quit your job to work
more
90 hours a week. And I'm like, yep, but it doesn't feel like work to me. Like I love the people I'm around every day. And you don't get PTO. So like,
there's no PTO. No. Everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah. So it takes a grind, but it's so fulfilling. Like my job is so fulfilling.
That's another like common theme with these entrepreneurs. Like I work more than I ever have in my life, but I enjoy what I'm doing.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
So, I mean, that last guest I had, she was like in politics. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
That was wild.
How did you meet her?
Through Mark.
Sendai?
Yeah.
Knows everyone.
Yeah, he knows everyone. Oh my god. But yeah, so like she is a coach now, bikini competitor, but she was a political lobbyist for like big tech. I'm like the enemy. No, I was just
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I'm like, oh my god, and then she was telling me, I'm like, oh my god, that world is crazy too.
Yeah.
Some of that lobbying stuff,
Oh,
just like
yeah.
what politicians do, it was wild.
It's crazy to like hear people's backstories.
But she was making crazy money doing that.
Yeah.
But the same thing, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and she's way happier now, even though that's Joni Nacky. That's who that was.
Okay.
But it's another thing. Like, she's way happier now. She said she was never able to see her kid. I think she said her kid started calling her California mom because she was like gone
really
all the time.
sad.
And she's like, I can't do this to my kid. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm making a lot of money and I'm making a difference in politics, but like my true passion is fitness. And so similar thing. It took a long time. And she said the same thing. Like, she's like, there were times I was literally like on my knees praying and I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just living on credit cards. I was,
Yep.
and now she's doing good.
Yep.
But it's not for the weak of heart.
You have to do it scared for sure. And just like I am a big person of faith and like having faith, it doesn't matter what your faith is in, but having faith in something and just reminding yourself like this is all going to work out.
I believe in that too. The other thing I've noticed too is like if you are struggling, nobody gives a fuck. And so I've learned like you don't want to like be that person complaining.
No.
Like you chose this, so you don't want to be like, man, it's been really hard lately and all that. It's like nobody cares.
Well, it's kind of like competing. Like when I hear people complain about being hungry, I'm like, this is a blessing that you could do this.
That's
like you should be thankful.
This is supposed to be.
Like no one's holding your head down to a stone and being like, you have to do this. Like this is your choice. If you're gonna complain, just stop.
Don't do it then.
Yeah.
No, you're right because that's what it takes. Like okay, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So like clearly, you should almost fall in love with the struggle.
Oh yeah, like fall in love with the journey. I always say I would still do this if there wasn't stage at the end because I enjoy the process over the show day.
Yeah, my life is better when I am hard. When I'm living a harder life, even if there's no show coming up, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just unhappy when I get really complacent, lazy. Like, I don't feel good.
No,
I just don't feel good about myself. I don't enjoy life. Like,
complacency.
And the harder I'm working, the better I feel.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
because you feel like you're progressing. You're making progress.
And just like how you actually literally feel too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we're definitely like, I think struggle is something we actually need as human beings.
Oh yeah.
And then, like when people don't have it, that's when they start getting like these negative, like, patterns in their life, or they turn to alcohol or they turn to food.
To like
or
fill
like,
the time.
Yeah. And it's like, but what they really need is hard struggle. And that's what they're missing, but it's a thing they don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, they always say struggle make us stronger.
It does. It really does. And it just clears the brain. It makes you feel good.
Oh, yeah. Like, going back to, like, all the gut issues that I went through, like, when I was going through them, I, like, had this mentality for the very longest time. Like, why me? Why me? Why is this me? And it was, like, I had to switch my mentality to be, like, I'm going to overcome this. Like, this doesn't define me. God will not give me this if I cannot handle it.
Right.
He only gives me what I can handle. And once I switched that, it changed.
I noticed that too. Like there was this meme about like something like the universe. Like I don't want this. I want glory and something else. And it's like bring it on. And I remember like one time I kind of like posted it and I was like, yeah, I was like bring it on, to the universe or whatever it is, And then so when life gets hard, it's like, man, you asked for this. This is what you want. So do not complain about it. This is the kind of life you want to be living.
And like
you said, you almost want to feel thankful for it.
There's so much truth in the body follows the mind. Mm-hmm. So, like, if your mind isn't right, your body's not right.
So, it was for you, you had to switch your mentality into, like, why me into, like, you know what? Like you said, God, if you believe in religion or God or anything, like, God made me this way. He wouldn't have given me this if I wasn't able to handle it. And then you switch your mentality to, like, I can do this. I am able to handle this. This is not going to beat me. It's not going to define me.
Yep. And now coming full circle, I think it makes me into the coach that I am today.
It makes you
me
stronger.
So compassionate. And it was like, I had this like full circle moment because I don't talk about the gut issues as much as I used to. And I had this full circle moment like 2 days ago where I had a member of the gym actually like there was like this weird feeling where I was like, I should reach out to her. I haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to her, and like she was diagnosed with what I had a few months
Yeah.
ago. And she's like, I've been struggling for years, and like no one's listened to me. Like, I don't know what to do. I just want to feel better. And I'm like, girl, I have been there.
You're like, now I can
you are
relate to
not
you.
alone. And she was like, oh, it just feels so good to like
It's
know
always
that
good
this
to
is
find
beatable.
somebody
Yeah.
that can relate. Yeah, somebody that has carved a path out of the same issue you're going through.
Well, and that's why with my coaching too, like my whole goal is to create a community of women that are empowering each other. And like my whole saying is like
That's important.
find your superwoman strength. So whether that be in the gym, whether that be outside the gym, like finding your own strength, no matter what definition of strength is to you.
Right, because it can be different for
and
everyone.
appreciating you for who you are.
Yeah.
And I have like this group chat on Instagram with all of my clients, and it's so cool to see them like motivating each other. Like, yeah, I'm here to do that too, but like it's so cool for them to have each other too, and like be able to turn, like some women will message like, I'm having a really hard day, or like they're in a specific situation, and like I have experience, but I don't have all the experience. So to be able to bring a situation to the group and have other women that have been through it,
Yeah.
and then be able to relate
Now you
to
get
each
the
other.
support system.
Yeah.
where you can all, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really cool to kind of keep building that.
That is really important. Like I know I'm in a few kind of group chats like that on Instagram for like just certain brands like that like there'll be like group chats for like people that are all part of the team or whatever, you know, and it's always pretty positive stuff, and like it makes you like, and then some of these times these people are going through some real stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like it's cool when it's just community, you know.
It also reminds you that like we're not all going through the same thing, but we all go through struggle, no matter what.
Every
it is.
single person.
Yeah.
Every single person you come in contact with is fighting a battle you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
that's a cheesy saying, but it's really true.
Well, and even if you don't know, like,
Yeah.
I know I'll tell some of my clients sometimes, like, yeah, I struggle with self-confidence, and they're like, you?
Yeah, because no one would ever see that
Yeah,
or think that
and I'm
of
like,
you.
oh yeah, like just because of what you see me in my comfort zone when
Yeah.
I'm in the gym, like
Well,
that
and
is my place.
The most confident people all struggle with that.
We
Like,
just know kind of, I don't want to say we compartmentalize it, but like we use it to fuel us.
All right, everybody, it is time to take a short break for our sponsors. The Nicky Free podcast is now brought to you by Manscaped. They are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. So join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. So it is 20% off and free shipping worldwide with the code NickyFit at manscaped.com. So the thing about it is, like, when you're, you're trying to shave your balls, you got like a date or something, you don't know where things are going to go, but you don't want to be like showing up all messy down there. You want to show up all clean. You want to be looking good down there. You know what I'm saying? So like, we've all done that. You get a shaver out, you go to shave yourself, and what happens every time? You cut your balls, man. And it's no good when you cut your balls. You start bleeding all over your ball sack. You got blood going everywhere. You get it cleaned up. You go on the date, and like obviously, you're a high performance male, so like things are going good for you in the date. Stuff starts going well, and next thing you know, like one thing leads to another. But then the thing is, you whip it out, and like there's a big thing, like your balls are all cut up, and it's like all sore down there, and it's like such a turnoff, So it's like you don't want that to happen to you, Like you don't want a big open wound on your ball sack when you're out on a date, like. That's just no way to be. So guys, it's time to take care of yourself. All right, look at this. Look at this product. It's awesome. Thank you, Manscaped. This stuff is so great. They also threw in this beard hedger, which is just a great beard trimmer. We'll talk about that another time. But this is the Performance Package. So yeah, guys, go online. Go to manscaped.com. If you want 20% off, use code NickyFit. You will get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. So check out the Performance Package. It's awesome. And thank you guys so much Use code NickyFit, save 20%. You're really helping out the podcast. And I want to say that I was already using Manscaped before they started sponsoring the podcast. I think they're a great product. So thank you guys for picking this stuff up. Use code NickyFit, save 20% and free shipping. You're really helping me out. You're helping out the podcast. And thank you to Manscaped. And thank you guys. Go out there. Let's get cleaned up. Let's not go out there all messy and stuff. We got to look good. All right, guys. Thank you. Right. And you know that you've beat it before.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
But we all have moments where we're just super insecure or we're not feeling the greatest. Or like, we always talk about that imposter syndrome on here where you're like, what if someone figures out I'm not the shit?
Yep.
It's like, but you are the shit, but you're just having a moment where you don't feel like it.
But I think there's so much power in showing your vulnerability, too.
There definitely is.
That's been something I have been trying so hard to do in the past few months.
Because you just always keep a stone, like...
Yeah, like, I'm not, as much as I want people to find their superwoman strength, like, I can't be everything for everyone. I can't be perfect at everything.
Well, and being a coach, sometimes there's pressure to be that.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, because you're kind of a role model for a lot of people. It can be a lot of pressure.
And I put a lot of pressure on myself for being so involved in the gym scene, too. Like, being the face of Body Shop and people knowing me because of Body Shop. I'm like, if I don't do well at this show, like, I'm going to let them down.
That's pressure.
Yeah. And so...
well, even just how you're viewed or seen in the world. Like, if you started, like... slipping for a few months, you would be like, shit, this ain't,
I think that's also what kind of keeps me on track a lot too, because it's
almost good to have
everyone's everyone's watching me. I can't slip up.
I kind of like having some of that pressure, so it's like it keeps you on your game.
But I try to be as real as possible too, and just be like, when I have hard times too. I go through days where I don't feel my best. I go through days where like I'm struggling mentally.
That's important for your clients to see that, though.
Yeah.
Or like you said, in general, people being comfortable with being vulnerable. Because we don't like to do it. And I've been lucky on this show because I've had some people come in here and really bare all. And I think some of those episodes were the ones that turned into like the most powerful ones.
Oh, yeah.
And
Frankie's was very powerful.
Was like, it still gives me chills thinking about it. And that
Frankie's like one of my best friends. And he is like, we've gotten really close over the past year. And like... he is that person that I know if I need him, like he will say what I don't want to hear, but it's the thing I need to hear in that time.
Yes, and just even now talking about that gave me kind of like chills because like his episode was like, and he's such a good dude. Like,
he's so good, yeah.
So that was powerful.
Yeah,
for him to share that stuff.
And like I always like, if you know me, like I've competed and I've won every show. Except 3.
Dang.
So I've been in 5 overalls.
That's a good track record.
I've been in 5 overalls, never won 1.
Okay.
And I will say that I think the biggest thing that holds me back is my mindset. Because I know I can win, because I've done it. But I doubt myself when it comes to, like, winning the whole show. And that's, like, a big thing I'm, like, really focusing on this year. Is, like, believing in myself and my abilities.
It's getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
So, there's even a dude who wrote I just like put it on my Amazon list because I want to read it. I think it's called like not the Art of War. That's like some Donald Trump shit. It's like the War of Art, I think.
Oh, is it about your mind?
Well, so it's about like when creating, like how creatives can be their own worst enemy. But you could translate it into anything like fitness and stuff too, because it's kind of it's about the idea of resistance.
Yep.
So, like, what happens is, like, so say, like, I'm going for this Emerald Cup show, and I'm doing really good, but there's something where you get this resistance to doing the right things, and you almost want to, like, mess it up. So it's, like, this weird thing. It's, like, so you have to get out of your own way and stop the resistance for the good. Kind of like the law of attraction. Like, the more you want something, the more you push it away, but if you just chill and relax, it'll come to you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it sounds like a super interesting book.
Well, and that's why, like, when it comes down to, like, show day, like, I avoid social media at all costs.
Right.
I don't look, like, when I'm prepping for a show, I don't look at the show's stories, because I don't want to see who's doing it. Because I have comparison is the thief of joy.
Thief of joy.
And,
the
like,
War of Art, it's called, and it's by Stephen Pressfield. So, yeah, I'm going to check that out.
So, like, I have the tendency to just pick myself apart and be like, this person's better because this. Like,
And
oh,
then
that
if
person's
someone
gonna
on
beat
social
me.
media picks you apart too, it like confirms it to you.
Yeah.
So you don't want to read that.
So I like that's a big thing I'm practicing this year is just like because anyone I talk to, they believe in me.
Yeah.
It's myself that doesn't, and it's not that I don't believe in myself to do well.
Yeah, but you have to
I
believe
don't
in
believe
yourself.
in myself to go the distance, and that is like I think that's the biggest thing that's
You have to
held
see
me
it
back.
and
It
believe
held
it
me
and
back.
visualize it and like trust that it could happen.
Yeah, it held me back
That's
from
getting out of the
coaching
way,
for a while. And like now I've finally taken a step, and I'm like,
Like, oh,
I
can't be a
killing
coach.
it.
I
like,
can't do
yeah,
this. But you can, and
there's
you
better
are,
people
yeah.
out there, but like everyone has different strengths. Like I connect with my clients for a whole different reason than Sonia connects with hers.
Yeah.
And people that are drawn to me, that's who I work with, and that's why we work well because they're drawn to that.
Right. It's almost like another thing that works too, I feel like, is lack of like being desperate. Yeah. Like you said, if you kind of like let the clients come to you and work with ones that will work well, if you're desperate, like just taking on anybody, it's not going to work out.
Oh yeah.
Like I found out the power of like saying no, because it's like, you know what, this is not a good fit, and I'm not desperate for your business.
Well, and I think I've always put so much emphasis on getting a pro card, like thinking it's gonna like change my life or something. But the reality is like, what's gonna change? I'm just gonna have a title.
It's a title.
Like,
yeah.
It's not gonna change who I am. It's not gonna change.
When I got my NASM certification, nothing really changed.
It's not gonna
It's
change
just a
my
piece of
approach to
paper.
training. It's not gonna like. I'm already living as if I was a pro. Mm-hmm. The way I eat, the way I train, the nothing's gonna change.
The lifestyle, yeah.
So I think removing that pressure and
it's
realizing
putting
that.
Too much pressure on it, and then if it happens, it happens. But it's kind of like the law of attraction, and if you're focusing too much on it, you might be pushing it further and further away. It's like, yeah, it's tough. That stuff is weird how that works.
Yep.
And if you kind of just like calm down and trust that you know what you're doing, that's when shit goes good.
Well,
and also gratitude.
Yeah, and there's that saying like, you're not going to get something until you're ready to receive it. And I don't think I've been ready to receive that yet.
I think that's a really true saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for the years, I wasn't ready to receive, like, running my own business. Like, I didn't have enough faith, but this, like, last year.
But when you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah, and it's just, like, everything has fallen into place the way it should. It may have not been in the way I pictured in my head.
Mm-hmm. It never is.
Yeah, but it's all worked out.
Success is never quite the way you envision it, but it's sometimes better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It usually is.
It usually ends up better than what you thought.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And things are different when you achieve things, like the way things really are versus the way you think they are. It's almost like better sometimes.
Yeah. So that's also been too. Obviously, I've said like I am a true believer in God and like whatever you believe in, but I've been really trying, because like I said, I'm type A. I like to control things.
Yes.
And I've been really trying to just like surrender to the process and just let it happen.
That's big for a type A. Because I think I'm a little bit that way too. Like there's definitely something about like a control element. Like,
well, the reality is you can't control everything that happens. What you can control is how you react to it.
How you react to it and what you do.
And what you do.
So like if I'm like hanging around or I'm at work and I see someone like, oh, that's disgusting. Look at this like fucking slob. They're just sitting there drinking and eating and like, so instead of judging them, I can just focus on like what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So instead of like looking at the world in judgment and like, it's like, I know that's something I don't want to live like. Yeah. So I'll just focus on what I'm doing and I'm going to live healthy. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm not going to drink all the time. Like that's how you like combat those things. It's not like hating on the other people. You know, like,
and that's kind of like I was saying, like I was going through all those health issues and for a while I was like, you know, woe is me. Why is this happening to me? And then I finally switched my mindset to be like, I'm going to use this to like make myself better. Like,
to sharpen myself. Yeah. Because pain and suffering sharpens people. Yeah. It sharpens like your abilities. It like even artists, like if they go through some shit, that they become a really good artist.
Oh yeah, because
you got some shit to work with, some stuff that like hardened you like steel. You know, like how was it tough to like switch that mentality? Because I have found that sometimes that woe is me victim mentality can almost be like addicting.
Oh yeah,
and comforting, and it almost sucks you in. Like yeah, just come here and feel bad about yourself. Because of the way
I was raised, like when I was feeling that way, I didn't like it.
Because you weren't taught to.
I wasn't taught to be that way, so I'm like, why am I what? Why am I feeling like this? Like this feels like
you
crap.
were taught I'm a fighter. I can do this.
Yeah. And So I would say it definitely took like reevaluating my routine and making sure that everything I was surrounding myself and everything that I was putting in my head was positive. So really developing a morning routine. I got really into like journaling and affirmations
The
and
diet of what you're taking in.
I still do it to this day.
Yeah, not just diet as in food, but like as in like positive stuff being around you. And
yeah.
yeah.
Like what you're putting in your brain is just as important as what you're putting into your mouth.
It is. We've talked about that so much on here. It's like you can get sucked into those victim mentalities and you start surrounding yourself with other people that think like that, surrounding yourself with media that tells you that. And next thing you know, you're like miserable and you hate the world. And it's like, well, why though? Like, why do that to yourself?
And that's why it's so important to like surround yourself with people that lift you up.
Yes. Or like you said, sometimes you just said it a minute ago, like, Frankie, I think you said, sometimes he'll tell me what I need to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Not what I want to hear, not what's comfortable, not what's going to like make me feel okay about myself, but actually like what I need to hear, holding me accountable.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I'll do it with my clients too. Like, yeah, I'll be there to like be your biggest cheerleader, but the second you need tough love, I'll give it to you.
Tough love is huge.
Yeah. And
So
sometimes
important.
they're not happy with me in the moment, but like give them a few hours or a week, they'll be like, thank you so much for like pulling
Later
my head
on,
out of my
they'll
ass.
be thankful.
Yeah.
I always say that like my dad was super hard on me growing up, but like, you know, at the time I probably didn't like it. Years later, though, now I respect him so much for being like that.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. I mean, my dad, best dad in the world, but I will say he's a hard ass and he's not one that's going to give me praise easily.
But when I look back now, I'm like, wow, he was
why
doing
I am
his job as a dad.
That's why I am how I am.
His job wasn't to be liked. It was to make me somebody that's like not a piece of shit.
Yeah, and he always had the same.
And he always provided, and we never. So that's your job as a dad. It's not to be easy on you.
Yeah,
you know?
He always used to tell me, run with your heart. Mm-hmm. And that was more like in track, like run with your heart, just run. But like I apply that to everything in my life.
Yeah, I like that. So like putting your passion into things too. Because like passion isn't always there, right? So like that's where discipline comes in.
Yeah, it's like motivation's not always there. People always ask me like, how do you stay
God.
motivated all the time? Like I'm not motivated all the time.
No one's motivated. I think that's the biggest thing you learn in like fitness or once you become a coach, like, and then you'll talk to like younger people getting into it, and they're always talking about motivation. Like it's like motivation is nothing. Like going to the gym when I feel like shit and my brain is like attacking me and I'm not feeling it and I'm like I'll never do good, and still like going in and completing every little task that I need to complete whether I want to or not. And then you know what? Usually you get through the lift and you're like, why was I thinking like that? I'm fine. Feel better. I feel great. Yeah. What the fuck?
And that builds character and it builds self-confidence.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I can do this shit.
I can beat that.
Yeah.
I can beat that feeling of like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah, and that's the stuff like I want to instill in my clients. Like, you are so much stronger than you think.
It is tough because I have certain clients who are friends, you know, and like, and I know and they want me to be hard on them, but it is funny when like, okay, well, I've given you this meal plan and you haven't done it at all. And you haven't sent in any, and then you like send me a whole like long email, and I get it, but also it's like, try to eat on the meal plan consistently for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then they're like, I'm like, I listened to everything you said and I understand like life is stressful, kind of like you're saying, like listen to all the factors. But I'm like, all I can really tell you is try again. Don't beat yourself up. I always say forgive yourself.
Yeah, give yourself some grace, but also don't be like for 6 months straight. Like that's how you end up not making progress. Like, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. I'll get on it tomorrow.
You can do that, but don't expect progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I just had this conversation with, I don't know if you want to get into like competing topic too, but I just had this conversation with a client who wants to compete.
Well, I think it's cool that you are able to coach competition because like, you know, I got my NASM and I'll do like regular clients and stuff, but like the people like you guys that can like coach competitive prep, like that's crazy to me.
Well, and so
that's skills.
Our first like that was another thing I was really scared to do.
It probably took a while to get
I had
good
doubted myself. I'm like, oh, I'm not a good enough coach for that. But being in the gym and hearing a lot of different approaches and watching some preps take place, I'm like, you know what? I can do better than that.
And you've been through enough of them yourself that
Yeah, and so she comes in and we do a consult. She sits down and I'm definitely, she's like, okay, I want to do a show in June. This was like in February. And I'm like, okay, she never competed. I'm like, what do you do right now for your diet? She's like, not on diet, nothing. I'm like, okay, well, first, June is out of the picture if you want me to coach you. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to
That's
put
too
you on
soon.
stage
Yeah.
until you're at your best. And that is, like, I will tell people no. I'm not going to just put you on stage because you want to go on stage.
Yeah, even whether you're paying me or not. Like,
And so we develop a plan, and afterwards she was like, I'm so glad we didn't jump right into prep, because she was having issues like getting on, like, she's like, life keeps happening, all these trips keep coming. And then she just contacted me last week, and she's like, okay, I don't think I'm going to want to compete at all this year because I have another trip coming up, so I want to pause coaching. And I was like, actually, let's like sit down and talk this through.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, life is going to happen. There's
All
never
the
going to be
time.
a perfect time. Like, a prep is 22 weeks.
Yeah.
You think about it sounds short when you put it in terms of weeks, but like, that's like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, life is going to happen.
Life's always happening. You have
trip
to
is
make
gonna
a
come up.
choice. Like,
Like,
you want this or not.
There's
you know?
never going to be a point in time where you're just sitting at home the whole time. You're going to have to instill these habits in yourself. So it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And no matter what comes your way.
Well, think how much stuff you literally turn down every week, every month, because this is more important
Yeah.
to you.
Well, I turn it down, or I do it and I make it work with my plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Like going out to eat with friends or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You still
Like
can work
going
it
on
out.
trips, funerals. Like, you gotta go to this stuff. You can't
You
just
can't
shut
just
the
like
world
shut
out.
off the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I told her too, I'm like, also, like, prep is not when the athlete is built.
Yeah.
The athlete is built in the off season.
Big
The
time.
good athletes.
Yes.
That's when your physique is built. Prep is when it's revealed. And so I'm like, pausing your coaching in the off season and just like hopping back on because you want to prep. That's not the smartest decision.
It's not how it works.
Yeah. So
The off season is much more important than a lot of people think, isn't it?
I think it's more important.
Yeah.
And that is also a mindset that
And
I
it can
think
be the hardest because that's when people don't necessarily like how they look all the time. And
well, you have to get uncomfortable at both ends of the spectrum. Bikini, not as much as a lot of the other divisions, because we do have a really good foundation of muscle, but we don't have to get as like gnarly as the other ones.
no, you don't have to get all crazy,
Yeah.
like blown up.
Well, and like, for example, like Jen and I talk about this all the time, my coach, like we both love the wellness look. Like we love it.
yeah.
But I don't want to get as big as they have to get in the off
Oh
season.
my God, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, like they have to get like custom made pants, I'm sure.
Yeah, their legs just get so huge.
Yeah.
And,
So like that's not something I'm comfortable doing. So like that's why I'm gonna stay in bikini.
right, not your thing.
But yeah, just like instilling, I don't remember how we got on this topic, but just like instilling those habits in yourself.
Well, kind of when your clients are like not really following protocol, not doing
yeah.
with it, but it's like, there's what else can you do other than tough love and just keep repeating like,
Yeah.
well, you gotta try the meal plan. Or,
Well, and another thing I do too, I don't know if you do this, but when they first sign on, I require 3 months minimum. So they sign a 3-month contract because
That's interesting, actually.
like when I first was getting into it, like a client would do a month and they're like, well, I don't see progress, I'm quitting. And I'm like, well, first of all, you've hit your meal plan 5 days out of the month.
Right.
Second of all, it's been a freaking month. Like,
Yeah.
I've been at this for years.
Yeah,
And I'm
years.
still not
And it
where I want to
takes
be yet.
years. You want to make a change to your physique, it might take 2 years. Like, people don't think in the
Or more.
they think in like such short term, and it's like fitness doesn't happen in short term. It happens over very long.
Well, we all want a
term.
quick fix.
Yeah.
And like those quick fixes, like I get so many. So when a client comes on, they fill out like a pretty in-depth questionnaire, so I know like what their past is like. So I ask them what past diets you've tried.
Yeah.
And like a lot of women, like everyone, diets under the sun, Atkins, paleo,
They've tried
keto,
them all.
they've tried them all. And I'm like, what do you think is the one thing that kept it from like sticking? And they're like, it's too restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you do these quick fixes, they're not sustainable. They're
Right.
not long term. And so like my whole thing is I'm not helping you build a diet. I'm helping you build a lifestyle.
Yeah, this is just your ongoing life.
That
Yeah, the
you
word
can
diet is so
sustain.
weird. Because, like, even me being on a meal plan, like you said, I don't feel restricted, really.
No.
I mean, now, because we're, getting lower and lower.
Well, and that's
Next
why,
few weeks are going to be tough, but I'm starting to
Yeah.
feel good, too.
Yeah. But like that's why in the off season, Jen and I implement macros. She still gives me a meal plan, and that's what I do with my clients mostly is I'll give them macros. So if they want to have that flexibility, they can.
Yeah.
But I also give them a meal plan. And what I tell them is like, okay, on your training days, you keep your pre and post workout exactly how I've written them.
Right.
Because that is like what's fueling your workout.
It
It's
needs to
refueling
be
you.
around the workout.
But if you want, you can play with your other meals. And on your rest days, you can do whatever you want with your macros. You can feel whatever you want.
Right.
But again, if they're not comfortable with the macros, then they have the meal plan approach. But once they get into prep, it's meal plan.
Meal plan.
Like
you have
once
to
you're
stick
10, 15 weeks out, depending on how your body's responding, we're meal plan all the way. There's no making switches.
Right.
And that's what I do with Jen too.
Now, when you get really close to a show, what is it tough for you? Like when you get down, or do you kind of like it in a sense?
So I will say, like I said, I switched to Jen this past year, and this past prep was like the lowest my food has ever gotten. And the worst my brain fog has been. Yeah. But my conditioning and my physique was the best it had been.
Right. I'm in the middle where it's kind of like I'm starting to feel this kind of detached. Like sometimes at work I'm a little out of it, and I'm kind of like...
You have to detach yourself.
And people are like wondering why I'm like cold, and so it's like, yeah, I'm just But it's kind of a good feeling, but I know in the next week it's going to be...
Because you know it's working.
Yeah, and you start like, like today I was the first time... Because I had a couple weeks where like... we kept lowering stuff, but like nothing was coming off, and I'm like, fuck, It's
kind of like, well, when you're, and I notice this with clients and myself, like when you first make a really big change, your body kind of like puts its gates up and was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, because its first job, I mean, you think about it, our body's first job is to protect us.
It wants
so it's gonna like put its walls up and be like, whoa, what's happening? And then, because our bodies are stubborn. But we have to be more stubborn. And then finally, they'll call it like the whoosh effect.
Yeah.
Your body's like, okay, fine, I'll work with you.
Yeah, because for a few weeks, I was like, fuck. And then, like you said, I had to be more stubborn and stick to it. And then it really goes to that trust the process thing. Because then all of a sudden, like this week, I'm like, oh, I can do this show. Like it's starting to, the needle's starting to move again. I'm like, thank God.
Well, that's also like why it's so important for no matter if you know how to prep people or not, like having a coach yourself, because we cannot be objective with ourselves.
Not at all.
No.
That's one thing I noticed too, because I've been doing fitness on my own since like 2002. Like because I was always in pro wrestling. I was always really into lifting. In fact, I was always known as like the dude. Like he, if you need advice, Nick's like the gym guy. But it's like. But it wasn't until I started working with actual coach, and plus I was getting older, so kind of like my youthful, like I was still working out and stuff, but it wasn't quite working anymore to the level I wanted it to. And then starting working with a coach, everything changed. But like to your point earlier, it took like working with Jordan for 2 years, and then I started really enjoying like the changes in my body. And so it you have to think in like years when you're talking. And it's like now I feel like, and I'm still not happy with where I'm at, but I'm like, if I can keep this up, imagine 2 more years.
Well, and that's something that I always say too. Like once you start bodybuilding, like you're never, like you like your physique, but you're never satisfied.
You actually shouldn't be almost.
Yeah. And that's what keeps you grinding for more. But I'm sure too, you've learned so much from working with Jordan. You use stuff that you've learned from Jordan with your own clients.
Oh, 100%. I don't think I could be a coach if I hadn't worked with Jordan for so long.
So like if you ever feel like, or if you ever think you're the smartest person in the room, you're in for a rude awakening.
I'm big on saying, I don't know. Let's look into it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Don't be scared to learn. Mm-hmm. There's always something to learn.
Yeah, insecure people pretend they know everything.
Well, and that's why, like, you'll see me in the gym. Like, I'll train myself. Jen does my programming, but sometimes I'll have Dave train me. Sometimes I'll have Dom train me.
Dave's a wizard, too.
Oh, yeah. They're both. So Dave and Dom actually went to the same school for kinesiology.
Oh, man. Yeah. They're intelligent.
And those are the people I'm surrounded by every day. Yeah. So, like, and sometimes if I'm having... Or, like, there's something happening with a client, I'll have an idea of what I'm going to do with them, but I'll spin it off.
Throw some ideas off them.
Yeah, and like, I can take it or not. Like, it's just because they say it doesn't mean I have to do it.
Right. But it's good to have, like, professional peers to bounce ideas off of.
Everybody has different approaches. Mm-hmm. And that's the cool thing about this industry is there's so many different ways to skin a cat.
Right. That's why I think it is weird when people pretend they know everything, because it's like, actually, there's so many different... variables and ways, and so many different approaches can work,
and everybody's body's different, everybody's mind's different,
right?
And that's what I say too, like everything in my programming, like it's all customized.
There's like a few absolutes.
Oh yeah, like
that's about it though. Only a few.
Like, obviously, to lose weight,
Like
you need a
deficit.
calorie deficit.
Yeah. That's one thing that's true no matter what,
Yeah.
right? Like,
but yeah, everybody's training is different. Everybody's diet is different. The kinds of foods they're intaking is different.
the kinds of foods they can tolerate or not tolerate. That's what you
Yeah.
said. Everybody's different.
Well, and even if you could tolerate this food now, you may not be able to tolerate it down because our body builds up intolerances to things. So, like, I have a
True.
client that just signed on yesterday, and she's like, "Man, I eat eggs all the time, but it's like for a while now, it feels like I can't digest them." And I'm like, "Well, maybe we just
Maybe
take a
you
break from
can't,
them for a
though.
while."
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to digest them down the road, but right now your body's just like, kind of had enough.
Not into them.
Like, fed up.
That's kind of weird.
So, yeah, it's just like being able to adapt. And that's why, too, like, when I hear that coaches have like 100+ clients, I'm like, how?
I have no idea how.
There's no freaking way they're getting the individual attention that a client deserves.
I don't think you can. There's no way they can be a good coach to that many people.
No.
Actually, every good coach I know talks about limiting their clients so that they can give them all good experience.
Like, I'm about reaching my limit.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's
at
a good
like
thing.
I'm at like 35 right now.
That's a good
like
thing.
as far as like,
And that's all like
in-person.
is that in-person clients?
So some of them are in person. So I offer online only, and then a mix of online and person. So like if you want online and two training sessions a week, there's a package for that. If you
That's
want.
kind of good. You make them do 2 sessions a week.
Yeah.
One is so not enough. I have so many people that want to do once a week, and I'm like, I can't even really make much progress with you with once a week.
So, but I do their programming outside of the times that we're training.
Well, that's what I
together,
tell them. I'm like, if you want to do this, here's a lift where you're going to lift 4 days a week. I'm
Yeah.
going to have you just start with something simple, upper, lower, upper, lower.
Yep.
I'll teach you each of the days, and then you do it on your own. But it would
Yeah.
be easier if you could get them
Totally.
for more of the days.
So I do have a package where it's once a week. I have one that's 2 times, and then I have one that's 3. And then also, if you're an online client, I give them a discounted rate for their in-person training. So
Yeah.
it basically encourages them to do the online too, because I always tell people, if you're in here, you can be in here working your ass off.
Meal.
But if you don't have the stuff outside of the gym in check too, you're just spinning your wheels.
The meal plan is literally everything.
Meal plan, stress management, just all of that.
That's the thing I learned the most from having a coach with Jordan and Kimberly is meal plan.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's how you feel. It's like, yeah.
Yep.
We're
And-
literally made out of what we eat.
Well,
You know
and
what
it's
I'm
not
saying?
so
It's
much
like-
we're made out of what we eat, we're made out of what we digest.
Right. Yeah, we're made out of what we digest.
So
That's a
again,
good
like
way to
if you're
put
not
it.
digesting well, like there's
So
going to be something you need to change.
You probably know that really well because of the issues you went through.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah.
so it was right after prep, and like there were people that were like severely worried about me because I wasn't like absorbing my nutrients. So I was so small for so
That is
long.
scary.
Like I was like bordering 105 pounds.
Well, and that's like one of the most dangerous things is being underweight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for too
Well,
long, especially.
And I was 105 pounds with muscle.
Yeah,
So like my body fat was,
low.
yeah, it's just because, not to get too graphic, but like everything was going through me. My body wasn't absorbing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know. I understand. Like, I mean, that's what I always tell people. Like, if you try a certain protein and it does that,
Yeah.
I'm like, don't use that protein. Like,
Well, and to put it into like, to kind of make you paint the picture, like I'm like 135 right now. I was like 105 pounds.
that's scary.
Like I was tiny.
Because 135 is tiny.
Yeah. And I'm like, so I'm just over 5'4".
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like people die.
Like it was like people were getting real concerned. So
Yeah.
I had to like pull my training back. It was rough at first. Like pull my
And
training
then
back.
the body started to heal.
Yeah, I was taking so many supplements too, like no need for all of that.
They're
I had to,
tough
like,
on you sometimes. some of
yeah,
them.
so I basically like followed the whole less is more. I had someone that was helping me. She was a good friend, and we basically pulled everything. Like we pulled my training back. I was only walking for cardio.
You almost have to start from scratch.
Literally, we just took everything out,
Yeah.
kept everything out for like a month. I wasn't like doing any like artificially sweetened things. I wasn't doing like
Just
the
get
only
rid of
fats I
all
like.
the unnatural stuff.
The easiest stuff for me to digest. So only cooked vegetables, white rice, only meat, no protein powders, like nothing with artificial sweeteners in it. Only doing like oils for my fats.
Yeah.
Just like letting my body just chill the fuck out.
Well, I wonder how many people would have a positive effect if they just took a month or so to like do no
Reset.
chemical stuff.
Yeah.
all natural whole foods just for a little bit and see. That's a good place to start, even if you don't want to be on a meal plan.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Just like how much better your body will probably function.
Well, then I slowly would add stuff back in. And like, I'm still very careful. Like with stevia, I do all organic stevia. Like, because even the stevias you see in the stores, like,
Yeah, I don't
read
know.
your labels. They're blends. There's still erythritol in it.
Yeah, I got a little weird with some of that too, where like I was using some stevia and I felt like it was making my physique like get kind of bloaty.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
which one were you using?
It was just like stevia in the raw or whatever.
Well, if you look at it, was it like the green packet?
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's actually mixed with other sweeteners.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I feel like this is negatively impacting where like I actually use a little bit of just like, it's like a brown sugar seasoning. So it has a little sugar in, but I'm like, why don't I just do a couple shakes of actual real sugar? And that was making me feel fine.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, I can just limit my amount. So like a couple shakes of this on my chicken and rice. It gives me a little sweetness. I like it. It's not affecting my diet too bad. And I'm not getting that weird, like when I was doing the stevia, it was like, no.
And like, there are things to, what was I going to say? Oh, like condiments and stuff. Like, just be careful. Like, look at your ingredients.
Like we all go to that Walden Farms.
Oh God, I haven't used those since like 2016. But
I kind of just don't either. I'm like, the one thing I do like is the Miss Buttersworth sugar-free syrup, which probably is full of
that's
stevia.
That's like one of my like guilty pleasures. But once I start prep, I cut it.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be a good idea to start cutting it right now.
Yeah, and so with Jen too, like at 2 weeks out, we cut everything. That's
I might
artificial.
cut all sauces other than like vinegar-based hot sauce that has like no calories.
Oh yeah, I'll like when I go into prep, like or when I'm like coming into a show, like the only seasoning I use is salt and cinnamon.
That's probably good because they got to be doing something.
Yeah, and I remember I was actually having this conversation with Kelly, Kyle's girlfriend.
Yep.
We worked that all women's seminar yesterday and we were talking about just like prep and like peak week and stuff. And I remember peak week, my mouth was so raw at the top because all I was eating was 99 ground turkey, which is like so dry.
No sauces.
Lightly salted rice cakes and salt. That was like all I was eating. And so like the roof of my mouth was just like so raw.
It does get that way. I know what you mean.
But like some people were like, how can I not see your intestines right now? Because like I was just so flat. Like my stomach was just like.
Is that like right before a show? Do you usually feel really flat?
Like my physique as far as like muscles.
Yeah, and then when you eat before the show, you fill out.
Yeah, my physique is kind of like I stay pretty full, especially in my upper body. But that's something I have to talk to my clients about all the time. I have a prep client right now, and her metabolism is freaking crazy. But it's definitely a push and pull type of thing because we do have to push her to get her legs lean enough.
Yeah.
But like she looks super flat. But I'm like, just remember, this is part of the process. Right. You have to get flat in order to get conditioned.
Yep.
And you're only prepping for that one day. We're going to have you nice and full on stage, but like...
I think getting okay with feeling flat is probably the biggest
Well, and a lot of people that aren't like, I don't want to say they're not educated, but they're not as familiar with the process. They take being flat as like, oh, I got smaller.
But it's not.
Your muscles just aren't filled out.
Yeah. Some days you'll like feel really flat and it's like you just have to stick with the process. Yep. Like you'll be like, I should eat more today or something. It's like, no.
There's a reason.
That means it's working actually. Like,
yeah, we're depleting.
Yeah. That's the like even Mark, he's always like, just remember, if you feel like shit, you're gonna look good.
Yeah.
Like if
and I don't necessarily feel like you have to like. I don't want to tell everyone like, oh, you're gonna feel like you're dying, but I mean, there are gonna be some rough days.
Yeah, and it should be that way.
Yeah.
I kind of keep telling myself that too. Like getting closer now, I'm like, you should feel hungry. You should feel tired. You should feel like.
Well, hunger is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, take it as a privilege.
Yes, it's good for you.
Well, and a lot of people, I think, and I used to do this too, they're like, volume eating. So I would like try to fit so many things in to make my like meals more voluminous.
Oh, so it would kind of like get you by like.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, like you don't want to be feeling especially close to a show, you don't want to be shoving so much in your belly that like your belly's distended. So like just embrace it. It's just temporary. It's not, you're getting enough to sustain your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. Like,
that's the thing is we're all like.
Your body is so resilient.
We're so used to the American like
don't be a pussy
diet of basically like overconsumption and overcomfort.
Yeah.
Really, if you like went back to people like going through the Great Depression, they'd be like, you're fine.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Don't be a pussy.
Like, you have plenty of food. They're like, what? You didn't eat? We didn't eat for a week, you pussy. Like,
well,
you know
it's
what I
just
mean?
like what we are adapted to because we went through an off season where we were eating so much food. Like I think about what I was eating back in like 2012 and it was probably less than I'm eating at the end of prep.
Right. Because that was before you knew what you were doing, right?
And my body was used to it.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's
so
all perception.
It's a better lifestyle now. It is. It's all perception.
Yeah.
And it's like good for you to go through hard things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I always feel like you're right. If you kind of remind yourself like, this is a privilege to go through this, and it's making me stronger. Like,
yeah. Well, like when you get down to feeling like shit, it also actually like makes you appreciate life. When you feel good.
Yeah.
When you're fueled, you're like, holy, I'm freaking Wonder Woman in
hard
here right
things
now.
In life
yeah.
make you appreciate the easy times. Yeah.
Yeah. And
like
not
darkness makes you appreciate light and all that. You know?
Yeah. And like for the longest time, I hated reversing. I hated it. Because I loved being lean. And, like, being lean's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But, like, you feel like crud.
Yeah.
And then when I put back on, like, my weight, and I'm, like, I've got the reverse down.
That's
now.
a good thing. That probably took a lot of years to learn.
Yeah, I've gone, like, a lot of people that see me now, they're like, oh, you never rebound. I'm like, that's because I've paid my price already. I've done it, and I don't want to do it again.
That's one big fear I do not want to do after the show.
Yeah.
Like I want to go out with my friends the next day and enjoy food, but I do like that Monday. I just want to get right back.
I put on weight. Don't get me wrong, but it's gradual.
Yes, and that's what I want to do.
So right now, I'm about 14 pounds above what I typically am on stage.
Okay.
Which is a really healthy place to be. But I've learned to like love my curves and learn to like how good I feel in the gym and how strong I feel.
You should.
And like, yeah.
Yeah, people get so like concerned with being so skinny or like. I don't know. Like
well,
you
like
said,
the reality is more people prefer you curvier.
Well, yeah, especially like for women, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first thing to go is your butt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's what you lose. I know. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like I heard some girl in the bar like, all these fitness girls, all they do is grow their butt. It's so weird. I'm like, and I was looking at her like, you think that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, grow the glutes.
Yeah, she clearly was just jealous.
I'm sure. Oh, when people make those comments, like it's just from insecurity on themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was kind of like, I feel like, yeah.
Haters gonna hate.
Sounds like you're just hating on these girls for getting nice big butts.
Haters are gonna hate. And that's what I say too, because like a lot of people will stress about like going out to eat with people or like taking their Tupperware. And I'm like, first of all, if they're the ones hating on you, they're people you don't want in your life anyways. They're not supportive of you.
Right.
And a lot of people like won't even make a big deal about it if you don't. So like if you just pull it out like it's this normal thing, like don't say anything, don't bring attention to it, and just start eating. Most people won't say anything. If they say something that's not supportive, that's people you don't need in your life. You don't need the haters.
Yeah, if you go in there and you're like, oh, this sucks. I have to eat out of a Tupperware. I want to do it. It's like, well, then just quit doing this.
Yeah. And then the people that ask, if they're asking questions, it's probably generally because they want to know. They're like, whoa, why you're looking like this? You're doing this. Should I be like, they want to know. So like, take it as a compliment.
Get interest in what you're doing.
Yeah, take it as a compliment.
You probably look different than normal people. You're doing different things. Like, so people just get interested.
Yeah, totally.
You know, because you're kind of doing a really hard thing in life. People are going to be interested in it.
Again, you can't control what people are going to say, but you can control the way you react to it.
They're either going to look at you and get super inspired and be like, wow, I wish I could do that. Or you're going to make them feel like trying to do that. Yeah. And you're going to inspire them. Or they're going to do that other route of like jealousy or bitterness.
And I had that. Yeah. Like, because when I first got into bodybuilding, it was right after college, and I had most of my college friends, a lot of my high school friends too, still.
But you found your real ones.
Big partiers.
Yeah.
And my circle has changed so much.
It has to. You outgrow people.
Oh, you outgrow people? Like
the more you start being healthy in your life too, and I'm not just talking about fitness, I'm talking about mentally, everything. You end up having a lower tolerance for unhealthy people. And you might still love them. They're great people, but you just don't want to be around those behaviors.
Well, and I would say I still have people from that day, like that day and age makes me sound so old, from that like chapter of my life, and they still support me, but they're not people that I talk to on a daily basis.
Right. And you might even, like I said, I have a lot of friends that are super unhealthy, but I still love them. Like, and then I have a lot of friends that are super healthy and supportive, and like those are like my really good friends.
Well, those are the people that understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
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 So it's
Well,
all
I have
about,
like two best friends that neither one of them is into the fitness life or what. I mean, they're both pretty healthy, but like they are not the type that would ever like they're supportive. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they're doing, I'm supportive of them. Like
yeah.
always kind of raising each other up. Never.
And those are the people you
Yeah.
want in your life. They don't have to be doing the same thing you're doing, but as long as they're not bringing you down.
Exactly. That's what matters. It's
Yeah.
like a supportive energy where you just have each other's back.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So those are like the best friends you can get.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like
Well,
what I've been wanting to build with like the community of
it
women.
seems
too.
like you're doing a good job of all that.
I'm hoping so.
And it seems like you're growing your brand and your business quite a bit.
I am.
So what do you think your plans for like the next couple of years are?
I mean, I just want to, like I said, as far, obviously, like, too, with coaching, like, people are going to come and go. So, like, I feel like that's forever going to be, like, a push and pull with, like, but I like the amount of clients that I'm at right now. So, probably, I could take on probably another, like, 10 or so online clients.
Yep.
But once I start growing past that, I mean, potentially bringing someone under me.
You might have to.
Yeah. Because, again, I don't want to stunt my growth. I want to be able to help as many people as I can.
You got to be able to scale up if you need to.
Yeah. So, and like, obviously, like, I want to keep growing my business, but I'm also one of those people where I'm just like, I'm going to take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
And like,
Stay
if a
in the
door
present.
opens, I'm going to step through it.
And be ready for it.
Yeah.
So
And
stay
be ready to
be
receive
ready.
it.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, I want to keep growing in my competition. Like, that's still very near and dear to my heart, my own success. I don't want to forget about that because I'm also one that will take on everybody else and put myself second. So
Is that tough to keep your focus when you're coaching so many people too?
We will see. This will
I
be
mean,
one
you're
of my
still
first.
killing it,
yeah,
so I don't
like
see
I'm
that.
very focused on that. So I mean, and it is kind of part of my brand as well.
And it's
like,
lead by example.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but just like outside of working out, I am one to like want to take care of everyone else and put myself on the back burner. So that's another thing. Like this season of my life, I'm really focusing on putting myself first and reminding myself that it's not selfish.
Right. And remember the power of no, saying no
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. And so I've had to get good at that and like drawing boundaries with like
Boundaries and the word
just
no.
because I have client messages on a Sunday doesn't mean I have to respond to them. Like,
You can wait.
yeah. And like my clients are like, we don't expect you to respond on a Sunday.
Right. It's more pressure you're
Yeah,
putting on
I'm putting
yourself
on
than them.
myself. Yeah. So obviously I like my big goal is to get my pro card, but
Yes.
not put
Not
too
put
much
the
pressure
pressure
on
on it.
myself. Just like enjoy the journey and
Just
then
let it happen.
yeah, keep growing my business, but also Body Shop too. Like
Yeah.
keep growing that as well. Because I think we have something really special there.
It is. I love that gym.
Yeah. So obviously
I'll be there
location
Wednesday
number
to do
2,
legs.
hopefully.
That'd be dope.
Hopefully soon. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I think that was pretty good there. Like, that
Cool.
sounds awesome. I know you got to get going too. So
Yeah. Back to Body Shop.
that was super. Yeah, you probably have a bunch of work to do.
I got to train because usually Sunday's a rest day, but I worked that. Because like I said, networking is such
Hell
a good
yeah.
thing. I went and worked that posing seminar yesterday. And
It's so good to do that.
I had to adapt my training schedule. So
You have to do that a lot, yeah. Like today, I knew you were coming, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go do cardio right in the morning. So I
Yeah.
got up early, got my cardio done, got my abs done, and now I just like get to go eat my meal, go to work, hang out with you.
that's also something too. Like, yeah, you have to be like set in your schedule, but also like be
you have
flexible.
to move it sometimes.
Yeah, be flexible.
Especially when you're like you said, you're doing so many different things like networking. You have so many different you're gonna have to move on the fly. You guys talked about that with Body
Yeah.
Shop too, being able to switch stuff up on the fly. So, well, Danielle, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
That was a great episode, and that was a lot of fun because I enjoy the same type of things you do.
Yeah.
Fitness and
Yeah, for
everything.
sure.
So, all right. Well, thank you for being here, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.